It was a very simple question. There's a population. None of them have a heart. And when there is the first ever in history in this population, first ever genetic mutation that opens the little doorway that in a million years will produce a heart in the future, okay? Where does that happen at what scale? I'm asking.
Like I said, like in the opener, it would basically be at the basically you would have some type of cell, some type of protein that would be able to, you know, do that pumping action. And maybe it's like some other function. Maybe it's like a, you know, wing or something, or I have no idea what it could be. Or something like that. Yeah, evolution. Yeah, we could have like some type of like inversion that happens that creates something. I don't. And basically the idea would be at the population level, the ones that created that pumping action, and if that was evolutionarily fit.
No, hold on a second. Hold on.
That would be what it is.
Okay, but hold on. Let's shrink it down for the sake of vision, for the sake of conception of it. Okay, there's 100 population, 100 unit population. Now let's pretend that actually represents like a million, okay? Just for the sake of argument. I'm actually granting a million something of something. But just to conceptualize it, let's reduce it to 100 just for the fraction.
Okay.
There's 100 things and they don't have a heart. And you're saying the random mutation happens to kick off this starting point of creating what we call the heart today, super functional thing. The process of creating that over time starts with one mutation that happens either in one or a couple of the individuals of the 100, right?
Yeah, that could be a DNA polymerase error, it could be a genome recombination event. It's not necessarily a single nucleotide polymorphism. It would be,
okay, but the thing is, how would an individual or a couple of individuals with this mutation know whether there was any level of beneficiality or not, right? Because you would admit, if this happened in an instance in a population, that little mutation wouldn't actually tell you or the organism whether it's advantageous. It would just be totally, what's the word where it's like neither here nor there, like I forgot the word. Not null. No.
Silent mutation.
This is going to kill me not knowing this word. But anyway, it's
called the silent.
Negligible. Negligible. Okay. Negligible. So if it's negligible at that first thing, you have to say in your head, going back in time, a narrative where it says, no, well, the thing is, that couple of individuals in that population who had the same genetic mutation that would eventually be the heart, the reason they kept it was advantageous, but at that point it would be totally negligible. They wouldn't know whether it was advantageous or not.
It would be advantageous at that stage, even at that's first step.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. This means that a penis growing from the evolutionary view has to have an advantage every step of the way.
No, you don't need to have a phallus at all. And some, like for example, grouper fish, for example, they spread their eggs on a rock.
Do we need
they eject their sperm onto that rock. So it's actually
stop. I didn't say are there other things that don't have penises.
Yeah.
You and I have a penis, right? You have a penis?
Okay.
Okay. Wait, do you? You said okay.
I don't know. Okay. Why do you care?
Well, because I want to make sure we know what we're talking about.
Okay.
If you have a penis and I have a penis and we come from an animal that doesn't, right? We can't have sex without a penis, right? That's what we know about humans. From the evolutionary view, there has to be a moment in time where some ancestor of ours started the process of growing a penis, right?
Yeah, now, if you're sex pilus, it's been happening for like in animals for a long time. It's the ability to specifically choose where your sperm is going to go. So it happens in a lot of different organisms, not just like mammals.
Well, I didn't ask if it happens. It has to, if evolution is true, it had to have not happened first, and then it starts happening.
No, you can have things evolve together.
Eternal penis?
That happens. No, this happens all the time with like flowers and proboscises in butterflies, for example. As like the nectar gets lower and lower and closer to where the flower needs in order for reproduction to happen, the proboscis gets lower too. So it happens. They evolve together at the same time.
So according to your view, the beginning of penis and vagina sex starts with not needing penis and vagina sex, totally reproducing in-house, totally fine, you got it going on, in-house factory, right? And from your view, random mutation kicks off and accidentally through random mutation starts a dimple in what wouldn't even be a female at that point. Maybe it would be a dimple that would eventually be the vagina and a nub that would eventually be the penis. And you're saying random mutation actually started that process, and the organisms at the population level kept their nub and kept their dimple for millions of years toward functionality, right? But even though, watch this, even though whatever the female is developing independent of the thing that already gives them reproduction, and the male who's growing a penis, even though they already have this other thing you said that acts as the penis, they grow these things independently, unrelated to each other. And voila, at the end of the baking period called evolution, this thing happens to work perfectly with this thing.
This happens all the time in nature. So this happens, like,
what?
for example, with like mongoose and rattlesnake venom, right? So as the rattlesnake venom gets stronger and stronger, the mongoose and their antitoxins will actually increase as well. So they go back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. So like,
wait. Like, how is that? Wait a second. How is that analogous? The ability for the mongoose to develop some resistance to rattlesnake venom. How is that analogous to two different organisms of the same species that already have the capability of having sex, independently growing a nub that'll eventually be a dick and a dimple that'll eventually be an internal vagina, even though you just said, well, they probably had the ability to have sex already without them. They just do both until the penis is done, right? That's what you have to believe, is that the penis, independent of the vagina, in a species that are already having sex, because they have to be able to have sex to be able to live long enough to grow a penis, right? Millions of years, reproduction without the penis. Millions of years of reproduction without the penis or the vagina has to be the case under this view. Now, if that's the case, what do you mean? No, of course.
Sexual production, like this, like sexual reproduction and the ability to choose a mate would be something that would be chosen under this model, right? It wouldn't be like some
I don't think you heard what I said.
Fish.
I don't think you understood what I said. Here's what the future of a man would be. Here's the future of a female. You're saying that, yes, under the evolutionary view, this population of species, whatever it is, has to be alive and reproduce during the time period that's required to grow evolutionarily, grow a fully formed functioning penis. So the thing is, the organism has to be able to reproduce on its own, totally fine, survive totally on its fine. And on the shelf, they're developing a penis and a vagina, but it doesn't do anything yet.
So
it doesn't do anything.
It would be like 7 million years ago or something, when we were more like, we are apes as humans, but maybe like we have different, stages of our hip placement or something like that. The ability to have a phallus is, it gives some type of evolutionary advantage, so that the uterus could be the uterus would be farther back, so then it could be larger and gave some type of fitness advantage, and that's actually a big problem with Homo sapiens in general, is because of like our hip placement, and that's where like the brain kind of like it's a huge limiting fact. So I would probably say that the phallus length, which is abnormally large for our humans, for mammals, for our size, is basically it probably was contingent on the ability for humans to have lower death rate during childbirth. That's what I would assume.
Yeah, that's a big assumption. It's basically a story. Really, the question is, it's really simple. If there's a population that can already reproduce without the penis and the vagina, it has to necessarily be the case that they keep reproducing without the penis and the vagina, and eventually the penis and the vagina are done cooking, so to speak, and they get to be put on the Target shelves and finally used. Now, the other alternative,
that's not how it works. That's not what I'm saying.
No. Here's the alternative. No, let me just say the alternative. The alternative is every step of the way for the penis and the vagina is useful and sufficient for reproduction. Every step of the way.
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, necessarily so, right?